The news hit the climbing world like an avalanche. Mount Everest, the ultimate prize, had turned away some of the world's most skilled climbers. The headlines were stark: Everest expedition fails. We had followed their journey, smiling faces at base camp, full of hope and determination. But the mountain doesn't care about preparation. This year, it simply said, no. The silence from the summit was deafening, a reminder that we are only visitors here. This wasn't just another failed attempt. The team was a collection of veterans who knew the risks. Their failure sent a clear message: Everest is, and always will be, the boss. In climbing clubs worldwide, the talk was the same. How could this happen? The truth was complex. A perfect storm of challenges pushed the climbers to their absolute limit. It's rarely one thing that gets you. It's a series of small problems that build up. This was not a story of incompetence, but of survival. The climbers faced an impossible situation and made the toughest call: to turn back. In a world that celebrates reaching the top, their decision to retreat was an act of courage. They chose life over the summit, teammates over glory. And in doing so, they gave us a far more powerful story than another summit photo. This was about the true spirit of adventure, knowing when to respect a power greater than yourself. Everest reminded us all: nature is always in charge. Trouble started brewing at Everest Base Camp long before the world knew. The usual excitement was replaced by tension and concern. Climbers pored over weather charts showing a dangerous pattern. The jet stream was dipping lower than usual. Sherpas sensed something was off. The mountain was restless. The expedition leader tried to keep spirits high, but his face betrayed worry. The right weather window never opened. Day after day, the forecast was grim. High winds, heavy snow, and extreme cold loomed over the upper slopes. The team went through routines, but doubt crept in. The altitude took its toll: headaches, loss of appetite, sleepless nights. The infamous Khumbu cough echoed through camp. Even strong athletes were being worn down by the lack of oxygen. Emotional strain grew. Weeks away from family, cramped conditions, constant uncertainty. Small arguments broke out, camaraderie frayed. One climber said, "It feels like the mountain is pushing us away." The psychological battle was as tough as the physical one. They were trapped in a waiting game with Everest, and starting to realize they might not win. The whispers of doubt grew louder every day. When the team pushed upward from base camp, they entered the mountain's fury. The promised weather lull never came. Instead, the wind howled, ripping at their tents. Temperatures plummeted, exposed skin froze in seconds. Every breath was a painful gasp of icy, thin air. The path was buried under deep snow, every step a gamble. The risk of avalanche was high, the glacier groaned beneath them. At these altitudes, the human body is in decay, muscles waste, judgment falters. Simple tasks became nearly impossible with frozen fingers. Their bodies screamed to stop, but their will pushed them onward. The psychological battle was fierce: constant wind, biting cold, ever-present danger. Even roped together, they felt utterly alone. Hope faded, survival became the only goal. The summit was a distant dream. The next step, the next breath, was all that mattered. Everest showed its true, terrifying face. The journey to Everest's summit begins with the Khumbu Icefall, a chaotic, moving river of ice. Climbers cross rickety ladders over deep crevasses surrounded by towering, unstable seracs. This year, the icefall was even more unpredictable. The route shifted constantly. On their first rotation, a new crevasse swallowed part of the path, forcing hours of delay. The icefall drains your energy and nerve before the real climbing begins. Every movement is a struggle at this altitude. Crossing ladders over bottomless darkness is terrifying. Climbers must trust their gear and teammates completely. The fear is always there, a cold knot in the stomach. Many say the Khumbu Icefall is the most frightening part of the climb. For this team, it was a sign of the immense challenges ahead. Above 8,000 meters lies the death zone, where the body can no longer acclimatize. From the moment you enter, your body is dying. Cells starved of oxygen, muscles weakening, brain function fading. Movements become slow and clumsy. Breathing is desperate, even with supplemental oxygen. The cold is deep and penetrating, seeping through every layer. The mind is at risk. Hypoxia causes confusion, hallucinations, poor decisions. Climbers constantly check on each other, fighting isolation and terror. The world shrinks to a bubble of headlamp light and ragged breathing. The mountain strips away everything, leaving only the will to survive. The summit is forgotten. The next anchor, the next breath, is all that matters. The death zone exposes every weakness. The team was pushed to the breaking point. The fight to survive was almost too much to bear. The decision came just below the summit, at the Hillary step. The storm had caught up. Wind and snow reduced visibility to zero. The expedition leader's voice crackled over the radio. "We have to turn back." Silence followed, a moment heavy with shattered dreams. Months of training, sacrifice, and hardship led to this. Turning back so close to the top. The descent was more dangerous than the climb up. Exhausted, disappointed, they faced a blizzard. Every step down was a struggle. Their minds numb with fatigue and despair. The goal was now survival, not the summit. Making the decision to turn back was the hardest and bravest thing they'd ever done. It's easy to be brave chasing victory, much harder to accept defeat. They chose life, honoring the mountain's power. Every member would see their families again. In that moment of failure, they showed the true meaning of mountaineering. It's not about conquering the mountain but respecting it enough to walk away. Their failure was, in its own way, a profound success. As the climbers descended, news of their failure had already spread. The mood at base camp was somber, no cheers, just quiet understanding. They returned as shadows of the confident climbers who had left days before. In the days that followed, they processed what happened, replaying every moment. "What if we had waited one more day?" one asked, but the storm had left no choice. The journey down the Khumbu Valley was a long, quiet walk. The scenery that once inspired now seemed to mock them. Passing hopeful trekkers was a painful reminder of what they'd lost. Each explanation to strangers was another cut to their pride, but as they descended, the air thickened, and their bodies and spirits began to heal. The expedition leader reminded them, "We all came back, every single one of us." That was the victory they took home. Their failure became a story of resilience, courage, and unbreakable bonds. Failure is a harsh teacher, but its lessons are powerful. This Everest attempt taught that success isn't just reaching the top, it's knowing your limits and having the courage to turn back. The mountain teaches respect for nature, your team, and your own life. This team didn't conquer Everest, but they conquered their egos, a greater achievement. Teamwork and trust became their lifeline. Every decision was for the group's safety. They went up as individuals but came down as a family. For some, Everest may be over. For others, the dream is transformed by wisdom and humility. "The mountain will still be there next year," one climber said, "and we'll be smarter." This isn't the end of the story. Resilience is the true spirit of adventure. Their failure is a story of hope, showing honor in retreat and strength in vulnerability. The summit will always call, but every failure paves the way for future success. The mountain said no this time, but the human spirit will always answer, "We'll be back." Everest's greatest lesson is that the journey matters most.